Hi everybody, Mick Levinskas here from She's Building a Robot, and I'm joined by Martha, who is in London.
Yes.
Excellent. And Martha, we were just chatting about East Africa and Kenya, who I've been lucky enough to visit Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. So I know a little bit of Kiswahili, but not enough to have this whole interview in Swahili. So we did just argue about how to say elephant in Swahili, and Google Translate said we were both right. So there you go. And a big thank you to my brother Ryan for introducing us. Martha, can you tell us, so what do you currently do in the world of technology?
So I'm currently working as a user success manager at Elastic. It's a company behind Elasticsearch. So my role is really to work with our users, both customers and those using the open source technology that we have, but to try to drive their projects forward and make them successful.
And how did you first get into technology? Like, do you remember your first ever interaction with computers?
Oh gosh, let me see. So I've had a lot of weird interactions. So I'll not talk about the first time I had a computer to myself, but I remember, how old was I? I think I was 14. I decided I'm going to go to MIT and learn how to build rockets. And so I tried to figure out how to get to MIT, discovered I have to do SATs. So, sorry, can you hear me?
So, yeah, sorry, I was just muting, but I just want to ask, how did that's a big moment. Like, how did you, number one, to think about MIT, and why did you decide you wanted to build rockets? What
So
was
I
the
think
motivation?
part of it comes from, I mean, it's personal. I was raised by two teachers. My father taught physics in high school, and he always pushed me. Well, I think pushed all of us, not just me. We're three kids. I'm the middle child. Pushed all of us to excel. I was very competitive, and unfortunately, my father died when I was 8.
Oh no!
But kind of that physics identity stuck with me. So I went to high school. I went to a pretty good high school in Kenya, public high school. I had a scholarship there, merit-based one, well, merit and need. And in this environment of, I was at Kenya High School. I had people talking about MIT because we had some alumni who'd gone to MIT. So I knew there's this amazing university, and brilliant scientists go there. And my high school was a bit weird. It was an all-girls school, which is very common in Kenya to have high schools, either all boys or all girls. And I remember you had to choose, this is actually funny, between physics and Christian religious education. And we had so many girls.
That's a big divide there.
I know. They're telling you to choose your side.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people. Yeah, I was among the people choosing physics deliberately to kind of, I can't explain. It was almost a sense of pride. But you know what? We will study physics, and we're smart, and we did all the 3 sciences: physics, biology, and chemistry. And from this, the whole kind of MIT crowd grew out of it. And when I was in high school, I didn't study computer science as an elective subject, because I was actually not allowed to take all 3 sciences: geography, computer science. It's such a silly system. But I begged the computer science teacher to give me the key to the lab and Google how to get into MIT. Actually did the application. I did the SAT. I got time off school to do the SATs. I practiced. This was way before I could graduate. I was quite young. I even had an interview with an alumni, but I didn't get in. Sad face. But like this is an exciting experience, and it's my first kind of experience with computers, because I had to beg for the key and figure out how to do this online application. It was a lot of asking for help. And so that was a random one. But after high school, sorry?
I was just going to say, that's awesome that you had that ambition and went for it. Like, I think that's, I think you've got to try things, and you've got to aim high, and you won't always get there, but by aiming high, I bet you learned a bunch of things even by going through that process.
Yeah, I mean, I remember trying, to be honest, I have never reflected on this incident until now. But a lot of things are starting to make sense in hindsight. Like, I remember telling my mother and siblings I'm applying to MIT. First of all, when they saw the thing, they call it meat, which was absolutely hilarious. And they're like, what's this thing? I mean, no one in my extended family has studied abroad. I mean, not even many people have a university degree. So this is like crazy ambition. I told them I'm doing this online application. My mom was not really sure like what I'm doing. I begged her for money to pay for the SATs. I asked for a waiver for the application. It was a lot of hassling. And then I was around 15. And honestly, I think I've never thought about it, but I think it taught me so much. I can learn stuff on my own. There's so much information out there for me to improve my skills and just go for it. There isn't, the internet is out there with so much cool stuff and interesting people ready to help you. So I think this really taught me the skills I applied in the second part of the cooler part of my story, technology.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, and then what happened after that? How did you go from there?
So after that, I graduated high school. I was a good student, very good student. So I was one of the top in the country. I was supposed to go to medical school, but I became a naughty student and refused to because I had other interests. As I waited for my acceptance letter to go to university, I interned with a local NGO that actually sponsored me through high school. It's called Akili Dada. This was like the feminist seed being planted. Akili Dada literally translated in Swahili, and you may know this, is like brain woman.
Awesome.
It sounds like an amazing superhero. I want to meet her. Anyway, so at this small NGO in Kenya, it's the first time I actually had a computer to myself. I was working with the accountant, and you're an intern, you're 18, you have so much free time. So I started Googling how computers work. I was curious about everything. Honestly, I was using Excel under the accountant. I was like, how does this thing work? How is it calculating this? This is kind of black magic. What is going on? And I forget who wrote that blog. I'll find it and send it to you. There's this amazing long blog about how to be a programmer, open source development. And I discovered this, almost my entire worldview changed. I could understand machines and how everything works. And this was kind of this, light bulb moment. I tried to figure out, how can I learn how to be a programmer? I jumped into Codecademy. In no time, I actually tried. I, helped make the first Ruby course. Right now they have like so many on Ruby on Rails. I helped on the boards, the community boards, moderating, people asking questions. I became obsessed with learning how to code. I used a tool called Treehouse. I did so many, like basic Python courses in Udacity. I was trying to pick up anything. I begged people traveling abroad to buy me coding books because you don't have Amazon in Kenya, so you can just get things.
Okay.
And yeah, soon I actually got hired as an intern for an open source project. It was called Delta Cloud. It used to be supported by Red Hat. Okay. It was under a program called Genome Outreach Program for Women. I think now it's called Outreachy. It's a really cool program. And the idea is for 3 months, you get attached to an open source project and you get a mentor, like actual, experienced engineers in these projects. So you have some skill, you get to push code, during the IRC channels, kind of throw yourself into this community and try build something. So this was very overwhelming for me, but very exciting. And my mentor, it's so sad because I've never met these amazing humans who kind of helped me in my journey, and we've only connected online. My mentor encouraged me to build my skills further, and I researched, schools that are not universities, but like open source and teach you how to code or improve your skills. And I came across Hacker School in New York. I think it have changed their name since. The idea was you go to New York, they're not really classes, but you work on open source projects and other things as you build your skills further. When I was waiting for the next batch application to open, I had everything set, and you had to submit some code. As soon as it opened, I kind of filled it all up, did the code really quickly, sent it in. And actually the founder was in shock. I had an interview with the founder the next day because I was so shocked at how quickly I responded. After a few rounds of interviews and I guess the internal evaluations, I got into Hacker School. Very exciting, second African, youngest person to get in. Story goes downhill from there. Kind of, well, downhill then up. But I didn't get to go to hacker school because I didn't get a US visa.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, I know. Oh no. And I'd actually crowdfunded on Indiegogo to go to hacker school. So I had more than $5,000 from all these developers who helped me learn sitting in my bank account to go to hacker school. And I cannot go to hacker school. So it's
Ah.
frustrated. And I decided to start my own hacker school in Kenya, which was like my techie entrepreneurial experience. I was like, okay, so I know I can do this myself. I'm sure there are other, young, interesting Kenyans who want the same thing. New York is pretty far. It's not scalable. Let's try create our own thing. So similar boot camps, but not of this nature. So I took the 5K, did another crowdfunding campaign. I got a little over 30K. And believe it or not, people actually flew into Kenya to help me set up. I'm like, who are these just beautiful humans in the open source world? So one of them who flew in is Tanner Welsh. I'm completely embarrassing him here. So he flew in and helped me set up. He had taught coding for a while and looked at the curriculum. We're in this like little small room in Kenya, as consulting firm in India, well, to the branch in India, but it's all over the world, called ThoughtWorks, sent me their old computers. I literally just had all these people help me set up the school. It was the most amazing experience, which even got me more excited about this world of super engineers. And I put up a Google form out, people want to code and improve their skills, sign up. They came. 3 years later, we had taught more than 150 young people in Kenya and South Sudan. We had collaborations with UNESCO, with a telecom in Kenya called Safaricom. Some of the students had built really interesting projects, got accepted into local accelerators. So I'm very, very excited about the impact that we had. Unfortunately, I didn't continue with this project because I couldn't find a sustainable business model. It's something I'm still very passionate about, and I feel like many people across the world are trying to figure it out. If people cannot afford to pay for skills or training, but they do need the training and they can get employment after, what interesting models can we have around that? So this is something I think about a lot. And I know I'll do it again, especially around training and tech and future of work. I think I'll do it differently and more sustainable. Anyway, after that, in 2015, I joined a school called Minerva Schools at KGI.
You went to Minerva?
Wait, you know Minerva?
I know Minerva really well. Do you know Robin?
Oh my gosh, she's the best human on earth. I love her. Just
Robin Goldberg?
Martha. She's the best.
She's my really good friend.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know you went to Minerva.
I just graduated. I literally flew back from San Francisco last weekend because I was graduating. I'm in the first graduating class.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you know
Robin. Small world. I have coffee with her regularly. I worked with her at Blurb. She's wonderful. She's amazing. So
if you know Robin, can you imagine a whole org of just like Robins?
Never.
Amazing. Yeah, it's such an amazing experience. I actually met Robin in Nairobi, and in order to enroll, I needed to pay a small deposit to Minerva. But I didn't have a credit card, and my mother didn't have a credit card. It's not common unless you're what I'll consider super rich in Nairobi to have a credit card. So to go to the US, a bunch of relatives had given me cash. So I came to Robin with cash. I was like, I'm ready to enroll. I can do it online. Take my money. So we've always been friends since this incident. It was really fun. She's been great. So I did Minerva for 4 years. So you kind of know my experience. I studied in San Francisco, in Berlin, back to San Francisco, and in London for my liberal arts degree. And my degree was in business because I'm very much interested in entrepreneurship. Literally, my degree has small business ventures in it. But because it's liberal arts, I could take all the statistics classes I wanted, all the computer science, econometrics classes I wanted. So now I'm a bit more data obsessed. Before I used to love building web apps. Now I love data. And well, now I'm at Elastic, which kind of, comes full circle to and with my obsession with data and tech. I'm very excited to be working with Ryan, and my focus will actually be in Middle East and Africa, trying to take care of our users there, both open source and customers, and trying to build a community there hopefully have a few user groups. I love developer communities, so I'm very excited about
Fantastic.
this opportunity. Yeah.
That's amazingly small world. I've just pinged Robin and said to say hello, so I don't know if she'll. I've just sent her a link to this Zoom, so she might actually jump in and invade. We'd have another one.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
So she's building a robot is focused on encouraging more young women to have goals to build rockets at MIT, like you did, and the fact you went through Minerva. You know, Minerva, I hope, catches fire and can educate another million people around the world. But tell me about young women in Kenya, and what are some of the challenges? Do they still face challenges of getting into tech? And what are some things happening, or what are things we could do to improve that situation?
Yeah, so I'm going to paint kind of three different pictures of Kenya because, I mean, as you know, it's a really big country, and being in Nairobi is very different from being in a small town. So I grew up in the west of Kenya, close to the border of Kenya and Uganda, in a small town called Kitale until I was 14. In this small town, it's a small rural town. It's very conservative, and I mean socially conservative. Girls are expected to do girls things and have girl goals and be a wife. And I'm sorry to say, get circumcised. I was luckily saved from that bandwagon. But it is, discussing girls' rights or women's rights is almost non-existent because women don't even have a voice in this small town context. And this is quite a bit of Kenya. Nairobi doesn't have a huge proportion of the country. So I always like to kind of, spending time in Nairobi and starting my venture in Nairobi, I always love to remind people the rest of the country, which is where I'm from. These are girls who are getting an education and are reading and seeing on social media what's happening in Nairobi, what's happening in the rest of the world. And honestly, I think need more of a platform to tell their stories and will basically be given more power to do cooler things. So that's the grimmest story of side of Kenya. Then you have Nairobi, which has kind of mixed, in my opinion, like mixed experiences for girls who want to get into technology. There's the majority of it, especially for young girls. As I mentioned, high schools are for, have girls' schools and boys' schools separated. It's difficult for young girls because the way the school system is structured, it's really to discourage you from getting to technology or any form of, practical work. Mm-hmm. My brother, for example, studied computer science in high school. I didn't. I think my year, out of 128 girls or 14 who studied computer science, which is crazy because I think we had like 80 who studied business. And very few who studied physics. Like, you have a big lab, but you only a few of you in there. Because it's not really encouraged. You're kind of I guess I played field hockey. So you're considered almost the counterculture girls.
Okay.
You play hockey and maybe rugby and, you're the bad girls. Not the proper one. I think we had more than 90 who studied home science, which is what's really encouraged upon you. Which is fine, but to the point where you're almost ostracized for trying to pursue something else, even if you're interested in it. And that's what I have a huge problem with.
Yeah.
Giving these labels to the girls who take computer science or take physics or any other science or any practical thing. My brother's school had woodwork. I know boys' schools, one particular school called Mangu in Nairobi, you could take piloting classes if you can afford it or something else. And, all these practical things, mechanical engineering, introductory courses that you can do in high school before going to university. Girls' schools just don't have this. We just don't have woodwork. I think in any Kenyan girls' schools, I'll be shocked if there's one because I've literally never heard of any. Other kind of more playful, practical things that I'll associate with, making robots and feeling powerful and building something with your own hands and brain, engineering it and designing it. I feel like there's a lack of opportunity up to when you're 18. After 18, honestly, things are starting to get better. Now I'm excited about that. We have programs like one that I love called Akira Chicks. I don't know if you've heard of them. In Kenya, I have to introduce you to them. You have to talk to them. I love these women. So it's a bunch of, I don't know if there were 4 when they started. Those simply developers in different companies in Kenya. They were young women. They grew up in Kenya and they met one day. They were working in the same company. It happened. Ushahidi, it's a project, Ushahidi. I don't know if you've heard of it. The I have innovation space in Kenya. And they all shared their story and how much they struggled to both build credibility and create, they were still trying to be accepted both in their families, in their workplace, as competent female engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to start this nonprofit, Akili Dada. No, sorry, not Akili Dada, Akira Chicks.
Yep.
Akili Dada is my previous nonprofit. Yeah, they all sound the same. Akira Chicks, to teach young women technical skills. It's a 1-year program, and they actually work with young women in slums in Kenya, Kibera being the largest slum. And because they're starting from a point where we're introducing you to a computer, I know they start with basic office skills, Photoshop, and slowly build from there and understand how the web works, how to build small websites. But these are skills that in Kenya you can actually get gigs with, which is very exciting. So you can imagine families against you becoming, a computer person until you can bring money home. Then everyone is fine with that now. So I think they're doing such a good job. And I mean, I don't have them off the top of my head, but I feel like, for girls, after they're taken out of this, forced environment in school where they have to do they cannot do anything creative. It's something that gives them power to build. There's opportunity coming up for these women to create stuff. After 18, I'm very excited about these programs.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. We've got a long way to go, but there's a lot of work, good work happening, which is encouraging. And that sounds like a really interesting project. So, wonderful that you're supporting those. What advice do you have for a teenage girl who's maybe thinking about robotics or rockets or MIT or Stanford or Akira Chicks, and they're like, maybe, I don't know, is it going to be unpopular? Is it going to be hard? Am I going to find a job? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, so my advice to them, as someone who didn't take a scholarship to go to medical school at 18 and has had a pretty interesting short career since, I feel like we're so lucky as young women today. We have opportunity that my mother's generation could have only dreamt of. And that is so exciting in itself. I could literally, go to a browser and, find out how to apply to MIT and apply to MIT and prepare for my ACTs and download all the tools that I need and just go out there and do it. And I know it's risky, but I feel like it's even more risky to try and go for traditional jobs because the future of work is changing and we're going to have multiple careers in our life. And technology is not just about, coding in a terminal. There's so much to it. There's hardware and the software, there's things connected to marketing, to product management. There's so much creative work within technology. So I don't think you should shy away because you have a stereotype of what a technologist is. I think you should do your research and I'm sure you can find your space within it because really tech is the future. And women have been left behind long enough, especially in Kenya. So yeah, time for us to get ahead, and especially for women who have an interest in it in places like Kenya. I know it's so weird to say it's sitting in London, but there is shame associated with being ambitious, with being curious even. You need to ask a lot of silly questions to be able to learn because you'll be a newbie every time you start something new. And I feel like this need for women to support each other and have communities of support to discuss these issues. So yeah, if you know other women who are interested in this, talk to them, try join communities or create your own as Akira Chicks did, because you'll need it. It is somewhat a tough journey. There's a lot of reward, but it is a tough journey for women still.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being an inspiration yourself. I think you are a role model. The reason why I do these interviews is to show that you don't need a fiction novel to find amazing role models in the world of technology. There are many around, and wonderful that kind of indirectly, Robin and Minerva have connected us another way, and through my brother. How funny is that kind of world?
I know.
But I'm really, really proud of what you're doing and proud of what you've done. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And keep enjoying London, and keep going, keep learning new things and giving back as you are doing. So, and thank you for giving me your time today for the She's Building a Robot audience.
Thank you. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll connect again in a super interconnected world.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Talk soon.